My name is Justin Wong, born and raised in New York, currently reside in California, and I play fighting games. Winter Brawl has actually been a terrific tournament. Usually in the past, they like to cater to the players more in terms of being lenient in terms of time and stuff, but now they're being really strict because I think it's getting way too big to not run things on time. But they're running really, really well this time. Everything's running on time, and I'm very excited for that. Just because I don't have to play at 2 a.m. finals, that's the best perk. Currently, I'm in the semifinals for Street Fighter 4, Ultimate Marvel's Capcom 3, and Cross Tekken 2013. Well, I was a big supporter of the original Cross Tekken. So seeing this game, I will obviously support it, and I think that overall the engine is a lot better, the mechanics, and also the character buffs and nerfs are very viable to make the game more interesting and having more characters used instead of the standard Rufus, Ryu, Cody, Rolento from the old one. But now it's more Tekken characters are playable, and they're very playable, especially to the point where I think that at the moment anyone could say that they're probably the best characters in the game. But it's still early in the game, and I think it's also a game that might have the potential to take over Street Fighter 4, I would say. So it depends on how EVO does and see if tournaments will still continue having Cross Tekken after EVO. Yeah, I do believe that some players are still playing the Street Fighter 4 style aspect of Cross Tekken, but the thing is, it's only been probably less than 2 months of the release, and people are used to what they know, and the way the game is drawn and how it's played, it's pretty similar to Street Fighter 4. But I think there's certain aspects where things that you can do and things you cannot do, it still applies because it's a different game mechanic overall. But I think in the future, people get used to it. They'll be able to punish tags. People won't do the uppercut FADC tag out as much as people used to do in the old games. I mean, the game, those type of games are obviously broken, but I think the more broken the game, the more attention it gets because it's more fun. And I think that Marvel's Capcom 3 kind of evolved to the point where it's getting really, really ugly now. But I think before it was very creative in terms of what kind of teams people could come with. Because anytime someone sees some wacky characters and they pull an amazing combo off, everyone goes nuts. But if someone does see it as a regular standard combo, like a Virgil combo, they're like, oh, whatever, it's standard. Even if it's crazy or even if it takes hard execution, it's normal. But I think, right now, the game's turning to a point where how Marvel vs. Capcom 2 was, where there's only 4 usable characters and people just use assists. I think it might get to that point probably before EVO. I mean, there's always that one person that makes a top 8 at EVO, which those seem like Fruitsy at last year. He was MODOK and Taskmaster. But you're gonna see a lot of Virgils, a lot of Dooms, a lot of Zeros, and just and then you have the next set of characters like a Morgan, a Wolverine, a Spencer. But it's gonna be I think it's gonna be mainly those type of common characters, and you're gonna see maybe 1 out of 20 players you see a MODOK or a Raccoon or even a Ryu, But I think overall tiers especially in Marvel's Capcom 3 do matter. It felt good just because it's everyone always shits on America saying, oh, you can never get past first round. But I think when they announced Marvel there, it was the best chance for America to actually take a title from them, And then especially the part where it's there's a growing Japanese scene there, and they want to get better, so they come to America. But overall, I know there's always a debate. America has Marvel's Capcom on lock, but they're no slouches. They're getting better. But just gotta say, they just gotta hold that. I think it's gonna be more matchup based. I call it Matchup Fighter 4, but it's true because now you see PR Balrog using Fei Long, right? And then you have Infiltration. His main character is Akuma, but there's games where he'll pick Gouken to counter, and he even pick Hakan to counter. So it's definitely going to be in the future where a lot of people will have to have and build a strong second or even a strong third just to get farther in the placements of EVO. But it's just always like that in Street Fighter games in general. It's really hard to be a character loyalist in those type of games because in the end, matchups will matter. Yeah, I've been playing a lot of Adon at home, just training and stuff like that. But I still feel I don't know, it gets to that point where you still feel that your main character is so much stronger than Adon. And there's certain matchups where I feel maybe I should pick Adon, but it's a stubborn thing. It's something that people have to learn to deal with at first, it's like a little phase. But I think the only time I would pick Adon is if Rufus gets bodied first game. But I want there to be a point where my first pick would be Adon. So it just depends on if I feel confident enough to do that. I don't really think so, because look at Super Turbo. It's been there for like 20 years, but it still gets a lot of love. A lot of people still play it. A lot of people still play religiously. So, every time there's a new update, every year Street Fighter 4 update. But I just think people they think that's like the common thing to do now, where there should always be an update every year. But sometimes you gotta let the game live for 2 years, And if you think about this is going to be the first year that Ultimate Marvel Capcom 3 and Street Fighter 4 will live 2 years at EVO. So it's going to be interesting, because I think more people will be seasoned into those games instead of trying to have to rush like a 3 to 5 months training process for a new game. Usually I would say that East Coast players are more, I would say, defensive, and West Coast players are usually more offensive. But there's always going to be like those special cases where some players will play offensive on the coast, or some players on the West Coast will play defensive. But I think it just depends on the people that grew up in past games, and see if they could teach the younger generation, what like patience is, or what like footsies are and stuff like that. Like for example, like Alex Vai, like he does like level up Wednesday night fights all day, and he was teaching these new players on how to like play and like the mentality. And if you think about it, like he's like maybe like 45 years old now. No, he's not 45, but he's getting old, and he can't do it for the rest of his life playing. So he wants to raise up the new generation of players, and that was cool. But I think the East Coast doesn't really have a leader like that, and I think it hurts the growth of the East Coast. But East Coast does have the potential just to do anything, just like the West Coast can, So, but I think having a leader will do good. Like I think Henry Sen does a really good job, just because he opens up next level, even though Chinatown Fair closed and stuff like that. But it's kind of hard, because everyone just wants to win. But West Coast, it's like people just want to play and get better. I think for a person to be considered sponsorship, they have to have some type of qualities in terms of how much stream time can someone have, how popular is your social media network, and basically what's your fan base like. So for example, like Twitter is very popular for most fighting game players now, and if you have a strong network of that, then it makes it easier for more teams to contact you, because they're always on Twitter and talking, promoting like their stuff, and also like I said, doing good in tournaments, like making top 8, being on streams, upsetting players, stuff like that makes you a superstar. Because if they see you like a lot of people didn't know who K-Bride was, unless it's the players in the tournament, like the Stream Monsters. They don't know who K-Bride was. But when he beat like Infiltration in the final season beatings, everyone knew who he was after that. So stuff like that, like a rising player. Because if you're like a player that doesn't have credentials, you're gonna have a hard bracket. But if you make it through your hard bracket, that means you deserve what you get. And it's just kind of hard in general, because I think everyone is trying to get sponsored, But the thing is like, I played fighting games, and I never thought about being sponsored. I just played it because I just love the community. So I think having that type of mentality is better than, damn, when I grow up I want to be sponsored. I think that's a horrible mentality. It just depends, because I know a lot of, like for example, like MOG has like they were doing Mortal Kombat, King of Fighters, Tekken Tag, and IPL. They got a contract with Street Fighter, like the 4 and Cross Tekken. But I think it's really hard, because those type of events are very like esports like, meaning like it's very professional, very classy. While the FGC events is more like a community based in terms of like you're hanging out with your friends. And it's going to be really hard to see a lot of those players that come to these events to chill transition if they want to in terms of the esports realm. But I think the only players that will take it more seriously are the players that are sponsored. But the players that aren't sponsored, they might not care, because they're used to like Big E's tournament, they're used to the Keats tournaments, they're used to Alex Valle tournaments, they're used to Evil standards, So it's definitely going to be something really hard to convince people, because like at event hubs and SRK, they're like the foundations of all the information. But And in esports events, it's really hard to please because they might not get excited. It's not as fun because the atmosphere of an FGC event is completely different. You know, FGC events are considered more like a Super Bowl atmosphere in terms of everyone getting rowdy, but an esports event might be like golf claps type of here. Like if you get a hole in one, oh, little golf claps, like stuff like that. But I've been to both, and you know, I enjoyed both of them just because like if you're a fan of like different genre of games, esports events might be the thing for you because you can see StarCraft or League of Legends or even like a Halo. But you know, if you have no interest at all, I still think it's important to support because you know they just want to bring everyone in. But you know, you can never leave your roots. Like if esports takes off, I would still attend Big E's tournaments because you know, without him, I wouldn't be here right now. And that's how I would also attend like all the community roots tournaments just because like that's where I grew up on. So you know, I don't think any top player would just like say I'm not going to any community events. I think they're going to do both. And you know, I feel like the people that don't want to do esports events should consider doing both also.